Todd, yeah, I go click the thing. I am calling this December 18th, 2023 regular meeting of the Mancos RE6 School Board to order. The time is 5:58. Heather, roll call, please.
Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Present?
Tim Hunter,
Present.
Craig Benally,
Here.
Rachel McWhorter,
Present.
Victor Figueroa.
Yeah.
Would everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm gonna try to get through this my first full board meeting without making too many Robert's Rules of Error. I've got Tim here to help me out. So thanks for being here. A reminder to turn off your cell phones. And also a reminder that this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public rather than a meeting with the public. There are 2 times for public participation. The first is at the beginning regarding specific agenda items. Second is at the end of the meeting when comments related to school issues will be heard. To participate, there is a sign-up sheet. Okay, so.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
So, hold on. Any discussion? No changes? We're good? Heather, call the question.
Mr. Benally.
Aye.
Mr. Figueroa,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter,
Aye.
Ms. Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Ms. McWhorter.
Aye. Motion carries.
Good.
All right, so we're on to our minutes from the November 13th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have the motion for approval?
I motion to approve the December 18, 2023,
November 13th, 2023.
all,
Minutes.
sorry, November 18, 2023.
I'll second.
Heather, call the question.
Mr. Benally.
Aye.
Mr. Figueroa,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter,
Aye.
Ms. Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Ms. McWhorter.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Todd, do we have anybody to present a district accountability report?
No, but I could speak to that. if
That
you
would be
wish.
great.
So the District Accountability Committee met on, I believe it was Monday, December 5th. And we really talked about objective 2B and 2C, as well as we discussed the evaluation process and the evaluation rubric for licensed staff. It was a meeting with a lot of information, and it was really well received. They did not send me back with a recommendation to this board.
But they were able to review it.
Yes, they did.
Great. Which up until this year, we have not had them heavily involved in the reviewing of the actual reports themselves. So that's a positive and a benefit for their input this year. It's also my understanding, and we'll talk further about this next month, that we will be engaging the District Accountability Committee into some of the training that we will undergo on how to read results, reporting, and really interpreting the data that backs these reports. So that is soon to come as well. All right, LRC, board report, Victor, for LRC CASB.
Okay, so I am just going to let everyone know that this afternoon we welcomed Representative Barbara McLaughlin and Senator Cleve Simpson to our district. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because it's on our agenda to talk more deeply about it, but I will say that they went around the district and saw all of the different parts of our district, and also we had a chance to talk to them about our legislative priorities. Great conversation. Nice that they took the time to come out. I do want to focus a little bit on the legislative priorities that our board identified as priorities that we're going to advocate for throughout this year. And so, that being said, the first priority that we had was a request to our legislators that we carve out a specific consistent amount of finance support for small rural remote districts like ours. What we're really getting at there is that we have districts around us. There are two particular districts that pay their beginning teachers $50,000 to $54,000 a year. We pay our beginning teachers $34,000 a year. That's a $20,000 difference. We want our legislators to recognize that we have special needs here in our district, and it's very difficult for us to compete and retain and recruit teachers to our district with a $20,000 difference. So we asked our legislators to really focus their energy and attention on that. Another challenge that we have in our district has to do with a small percentage of students that have intense mental health and or disabilities that manifest in severe behaviors. And we're really saying that because we have a small district, we don't have the resources or programming to really effectively help and support these students and their families. And so we wanted our legislators to know that this is a challenge for us, and we explained a little more about why that was a challenge for us at the size that we are. And then lastly, we let our legislators know that the governor has already committed to paying off the longstanding debt owned by the Colorado students, owned to Colorado students in the form of the budget stabilization factor. They call that the BSF. And we also told them that we know that the General Assembly also has committed to paying off the BSF. And so we just wanted them to know that we want them to get that done this year, to pay off that and to fully fund all Colorado schools this year, and all of those things that I just talked about, all legislators agreed with and supported, and hopefully they can do some good work in the coming legislative session. So that's my update. Well, that's part of my update there.
What about CAS?
My update with CASB is I just want to talk a little bit about the Colorado Association of School Boards annual 83rd annual convention. And then I'll open it up for other board members to add. But the focal point was around our students and around out the state of Colorado and the state of Colorado, the state of where we are in Colorado. So in CASB, we had a variety of classes that CASB provided. They provided classes for new board members, basically, grounding them in the work ahead as they get settled on a new board. There was legal classes, Legal 101, again, grounding board members and the legalities of the work they're doing. We also had roles and responsibilities of school board members, classes around what our roles are and how we can best support our community. We also had our delegate assembly meeting, and in our delegate assembly meeting, we voted in our revised CASB policies, which they worked on all summer. And we know how important policies are for a board. So that's a good thing. And then we also voted in new CASB board of directors, and there's 12 regions in Colorado. And we voted in each of those regions, and their representatives of around the needs in our region. So we're Region 12, we have a representative that's in Bayfield, and he is the one that will be on the board of directors and speaking on our behalf based on the needs that we have here in Memphis. I wanted to make you aware that we also had 5 amazing students come up to CASB's conference and participate in student leadership conference. These students got to participate with other students from across the state in leadership activities, and it was really cool. Our board had a wonderful opportunity to sit with them after their experience in leadership and talk with them about their experience here at the CASB conference, and also to talk to them about engaging them and their fellow students on the needs they have and the wants they have as it relates to their experience here in the district. And it was a great conversation. It was a great opportunity to really talk with them, and it was wonderful. The only thing I will say is, that being said, do any of the other board members want to add to anything around the classes or the students before I go on?
Well, do we want to show the video and then use that discussion time for,
That would be
to
great.
share? Let's
Okay,
watch
so
that.
we have a video that sums up what the students' experiences are in CASB. And they did a great job, really producing this video, and it really summarizes their experience.
So great.
That was them.
That
They
was
did
so
a great job.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to discussion items. BOCES, we're good, are we good?
Okay,
One
let
more
me
thing?
finish, because I
Yeah.
want to thank some of the adults that were supportive in this
100%.
process. I want to thank Ms. Favara and Mr. Riddle for bringing up the students to this conference, chaperoning them and supporting them with the work that they just expressed. They took out their time, they took their time to do that, and so we really want to just thank them as a board. And we also want to thank Mr. Husky for setting this up and putting it together and coming up and showing that, so.
And those kiddos put that together in like 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like super fast turnaround. They were excited. It was great. They all did a good job.
I'm done,
Okay.
thank you.
Rachel, do you want to present your BOCES report?
Sure. So we had our first BOCES meeting, on the 13th, so last Wednesday, and we zoomed it, due to weather. It's kind of an interesting board. We barely had quorum, so not very many people, were there. One of the main things we talked about was Cortez, obviously. Cortez, for all of you that may not know, they were denied their application to withdraw from BOCES. There were 2 parts of that. One is that they did show that they could be their own administrative unit, but by them withdrawing would very much hurt the rest of us in BOCES, and so that's why the CD denied them. So we now need to work on mending some relationships there and just to kind of see going forward. They do have a 60-day appeal, so we were hoping that if they are gonna appeal, that they do it a little bit earlier than wait the 60 days, because then CDE, I believe, has another 60 days to decide on that. So hoping that that can come through faster. They had a couple programs that they talked about. One was the physical therapist. With that, we learned that they actually have 3 total physical therapists that the BOCES hires for all the districts. They also have the eyes and ears, which works with our visual and hearing impaired. Their main thing is they do a lot of screenings within the preschool age and early elementary. The SWAP was a School to Work Alliance program. This is actually funded by a grant from the Division of Vocational Rehab. Each district has one. They actually help to take the kids from a school aspect into like career exploration into the actual workforce. So that was pretty cool. During our ESS report, the main thing for that is they're right now in the middle of December 1st is the date for all of their count numbers. We get ours in October, they get theirs in December. So they're in the process of doing all of their reports right now. And then they just had a bunch of professional development opportunities on February 23rd. In addition with Fort Lewis College, and there's a list I sent out to everybody, but they're hoping to do that. Last thing is we're looking at doing a new executive director evaluation. And so we're in the process of redoing that. Looks like we may actually have to start from scratch on that because their positions have changed a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes up.
Interesting. Are they starting from scratch from form up?
I believe they are starting from form up. Basically, the executive director used to also be the ESS director. And so now that they have split that, the evaluation is not job specific. So we need to redo that.
Interesting that it aligns with our timing as well.
Right.
That was,
And then the last thing is there is not a January meeting, so there will be a February meeting.
okay, so no change. All right, Mr. Cordray.
So I'd like to just start by yielding the floor to Travis Greenlee to speak about our successes with activities in athletics. Mr. Greenlee.
May I stay sitting or?
Be comfortable.
Yeah, so the fall of 2023 has been one of the most successful seasons for Mancos athletics and activities and our community in recent history. And I wanted to hit a little bit on all of the activities in athletics. Knowledge Bowl, we've been consistently placing at each meet that we've attended. Our home meet was just, it was outstanding, and the number of parents and community members that stepped in to volunteer to put that off, and then the work that Liza did and does each and every week was definitely noticed, and I'm excited because she's continuing to grow this program. Our middle school numbers are the highest they've been since I've been here, and so it's exciting to kind of see the future of our Knowledge Bowl teams. Cross country, it was a year where kind of numbers and injuries plagued us a little bit. And then that on top of being in one of the toughest, if not the toughest region in all of 2A, along with being sick the week of our regional meet, didn't help us any. But again, it's a program that consistently year after year is successful. And we did end up with Tegan Archer being first team all conference this year. And then again, our middle school program, the numbers and what we're seeing there, we're excited for the future of that program. Cheerleading, just our second year of really having a competition team. And this year, them moving from one category to a next and becoming a co-ed team. They placed second at regionals, and we had 2 individuals, Maddie Daves and Brooke Jabor, who were both finalists in the jump category at that regional competition. And then they went on to place sixth at the state championships. They were 15th last year, so that was a big jump. And I watched it. I wanted to attend, but due to weather, I ended up staying and watching it from here. And I'll tell you, just I had chills to watch the throws and what they're doing. I mean, little Matty Dave's, 30 feet into the air and just it was exciting to watch. So I'm excited about what they've done this fall, but then also what they're gonna do. And then we moved to our volleyball team. Our volleyball team won the San Juan Basin League Championship this year, first time since 2009. And this earned them the right to host the regionals tournament where they became the regional champions and state qualifiers for the first time since 2011. Individual awards that we brought home this year, San Juan Basin League All Conference players. We had Taya Yeomans, Haley Higgins, and Claire were all first team. Asia Matthews was the second team. Taya was also selected as the San Juan Basin League Player of the Year. And our coach, Brianna Yeomans Allison, was selected as the San Juan Basin Coach of the Year. And then we go on to our CHSAA All-State honors. Taya Yeomans was first team. Haley Higgins was honorable mention. Taya also was invited to play in the Colorado Coach of Girls Sports All-Star Game. And she's been selected to play in the Chaska All-State Game, where Coach Yeomans Allison has also been chosen as a coach to represent us. And then on top of that, both of our senior starters, Taya and Haley, were recruited and then signed to go on and play college volleyball. So that's pretty exciting. Football, we look at what they did, Mountain League champions, state champions, first time in program history. And it's our first athletic state championship in the last 25 years. I think we won a track state championship in 1998. And exciting circle of events. I was on the sideline 2 years ago in 2021 and then got to be there again this year. Kale Wayman was named player of the game and was featured on 9 News, bringing a little bit of notoriety to our little corner of the state. In the Mountain League, all conference first team, Kale Wayman, Caden Wyatt, Jacob Martin, Levi Martin, Chris Medina, Cole Dainty Guilfoyle, and Adam Martinez. Second team, Colton Van Nest, and honorable mention, Andrew Jaime. Then we look at all state, first team, Kale Wayman, Levi Martin, second team, Chris Medina, Caden Wyatt, honorable mention, Cole Dainty Guilfoyle, Jacob Martin, Adam Martinez, and then our very own coach, Josh Gardner, was named Coach of the Year for all 8-man football. And so it was a great accomplishment for this group of students and these coaches. But it was also a great accomplishment for Mancos School District and our community. And what I want us to all realize is it didn't just happen this year. And it took a lot of people working in the background to bring the success to this district. And as I kind of went to looking at all the people that were a part of this, it took our boys putting in the work. It took our girls putting in the work in their season. Our coaches sacrificing their time to prepare our students in and out of season. It is a year-long job for very little pay. And so they don't do it for the pay. They do it for their love of our kids and an opportunity to use sport to grow our young men and our young women. But then also we look back, the football team of 2021, who first made the state championship and showed us that it was possible. It helped us to believe. This year we added Elisa Fredericks from Centura Health as a trainer who's been a part of the family. We've got Barb working the gate. We've got Susie helping with parking. We've got Monty, Blake, Travis White, and Hank on the chain crew. Josh Martin announcing. Chris Roberts running the clock and scoreboard. And on top of that, he took 2 16+ hour trips with me to Fairplay to be able to run the clock for us in those neutral site home games. We've got Javier and Zach that are setting up the field and preparing the gym. We've got Zach who's setting up our hospitality areas for our visiting coaches and officials. The custodial team that's keeping our spaces clean and ready. Tanya Brown, who's running the scorebook for volleyball. Kim Zufeld, who's been our line judge, which is one of the worst jobs in the world because everybody yells at you, including your own fans. We've got Krista and Remy, two of our students singing the national anthem. We've got the band showing up and playing at events and making the gym so loud. We've got high school, middle school, and youth cheerleaders that are showing up and getting the crowd involved. Classic Air and the helicopter landing at midfield during our homecoming game. The color guard. We've got Genevieve Van Nest, who filmed every single home and away game. Anna Matthews, who organized all the team dinners and then also is overseeing boosters. And then those that work the concessions that add to that experience for all of our fans and community to enjoy. We've got Destry and Heather with the cash boxes programs and keeping the team and me lined out. Transportation, Dan and Jason hauling us all over the state. And then Jason to haul volleyball team to state and be there for 4 days, which always involves experiencing the town as well, going shopping, different restaurants. They just, and they, everything with a smile. Parents decorating, putting up banners, the community that's showing up, making our gym in the stadium the loudest places around. We truly had a ninth man at every single football game, and we travel well as also, I mean, visiting games, we had a big number of fans and parents that traveled everywhere we went. All of our local businesses and individuals who sponsored our teams. We've got Pete at the P&D who fed our boys breakfast burritos on the state trip and then has created a space for our community to gather and watch our teams. And I hear that he's continuing to do it. They watched basketball there the other night. Ed and Todd filling in when for game management when I had multiple events. I want to mention Alan Matthews because this journey for the football team, it started over 10 years ago. And he had this vision to create this family, this brotherhood. And he gave us a blueprint for what that vertical alignment looks like from our youth all the way through our high school programs. Because he started that youth program and then he moved up and he coached at the middle school and then he moved up to our high school. There's just so many people that poured into these programs and our students. And I'm sure that I missed some of them in this list, but what I want all to realize is this fall is a product of many hours and years of working in the dark, out of the spotlight by those present here and here today and those who came before us. And the success of this fall, it doesn't just belong to these teams, it belongs to this entire community. And this state championship is ours as a community, ours as a school district, because it took every bit of Mancos to achieve it. And so I can't wait to see what the winter and spring brings in Mancos athletics, Mancos activities, and then with our entire school district as we continue on that path of excellence. And so thank you for an opportunity to share.
Will you tell us about Thursday or celebrations? on
Yes, so
Thursday?
Thursday will be a campus and community-wide celebration at 2:00 in the PC. And we will recognize all of these teams, but then it's also going to be a great opportunity to recognize our state championship team. And we'll be asking players and coaches to kind of share a little bit about this season and the journey with everybody that shows up.
Cool, thank you. Travis?
Add the fire department to your list.
Yes, I told, the fire department, our
Every time, and
ambulance,
the welcome
our
home.
ambulance crew, I mean, at every single game, on all of our state send-offs. I said, I knew I was missing some, but it just, it takes a village, we hear that, but, this is proof of when a village comes together, for the betterment of our kids, huge things can happen, so.
On
It's feel like I
Thursday,
got a applaud.
I have one request.
Yes.
Can someone live
feed it to the Facebook page?
I will talk to our master of live streaming.
know who
and
that
I am-
is.
I am sure we can make something
That would be
happen.
amazing,
Yep.
because not everybody can be here, and not everybody can be there at 2 PM, but they still wanna feel the success of that, right?
Can you
Yeah.
also promote that?
Yes,
Facebook? I
I-
haven't seen it yet, so.
Right.
It was supposed to, I was supposed to have it on our social media pages today, and then I got kind of tied up this afternoon. But if I don't get it on there tonight, it'll be going out tomorrow, and then I believe it went out in one newsletter, but we're gonna send another newsletter out as well, because we want everybody in the community that can, to be involved in that, so.
I personally know many alumni far and wide, right, that are so proud of this district in so many ways, and perhaps can really relate to like the days when Alan and the youth sports program started, and really the journey that resulted in this fall, to use your words. So to be able to share that with people outside of our district in any way, I would value that personally.
Yeah,
And I agree.
Yeah, and it reaches outside of our district as well. I mean, for this whole Four Corners area, with Dove Creek starting it last year, and then us rolling in and doing it this year, it's just for our entire league, our entire southwest corner of Colorado, it's a very positive, very, very positive thing, and so excited.
Takes a village. We are very proud of you all.
So Travis, thank you for your work as the Activities and Athletic Director. You're truly building a culture of excellence.
Got good people around us, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as I continue with my report, I too would like to thank Representative McLaughlin as well as Senator Simpson. You know, they gave us a lot of time, they gave us a lot of commitments. There are two legislators, you know, one Republican, one Democrat, both of them committed to the success of education, both of them committed to make a school district. So I was really pleased that they took the time to spend that time with the board. And thank you, board, for being there and for guiding them and directing them in their endeavors. The next thing I'd like to touch base on is we continue to work on the concept of affordable housing for our staff. And this is a process that's moving in a steady pace. Right now, what we've done is, you know, we put in lots of hours as committees to this question to try to find out what the best answer is. Ultimately, the best answer to housing for staff is compensation for staff. If we were able to compensate our staff where we would like to compensate them, we wouldn't need to come up with a housing solution. They could afford housing in our community. But for now, what we're looking at is the bus barn is over a 5-acre parcel. And so far, we've completed a phase 1 survey on the property. We have a phase 2 evaluation scheduled for January, so we'll have some equipment out there, you know, digging into the ground a good 20 feet to see what the water's like down there. Everything's coming back really clean on the property. As a governmental entity, you know, we have a responsibility that when we build in a safe way to provide a safe and secure environment for potentially what could amount to teacher housing or staff housing in the future. We've been working with the town a lot, as well as with Mr. Hunter on this matter. And these evaluations have come to us at no cost. So, you know, the good work of Jason Armstrong at the town, he's been really coordinating this. He's been doing a phenomenal job. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that you may see some equipment in the middle of January on that property. Be not confused, be not worried. We're just doing some sampling. And that would take us to, if those goes well, if the evaluation goes well, then we have a process in place where we could get a development plan built for us at no cost that would tell us what it would cost for entitlement, such as water and sewer, as well as construction costs to put up maybe something similar to a threeplex or a fourplex on that property. And then that would give us the information we need to seek additional funding for such a project. So I don't want to overstate the situation. It's still a long shot where it sits, but it is progress that we are moving with housing. Tim, any particular thoughts? You've been involved the whole way through.
No, I talked to some architects and engineers up at CASB that were interested, but we need to have our baseline stuff taken care of first. And I can review the phase one stuff, because that's part of what I used to do a lot of.
Perfect, be happy to.
To give a review of that for the school. Yeah, the geotechnical report's gonna be important, and then we'll go from there to see what we can do as far as building, because it's, right now is the time to be really pushing that forward. There's monies available statewide and federally to make this thing happen, where we, at little cost to us, except for the planning stage and the development stage of putting it together. So to keep it moving is really, I'm happy with the progress that we're making. I mean, I'd like to see it happen yesterday, but it doesn't happen that way, so.
Thank you. In addition, this week is a really kind of a crazy week. It's, we have 3 days left till we go on the winter break. Today was pajama day. There's all kinds of excitement and energy and emotions just flowing through this place. And to even compound on those, on Wednesday, we're gonna have a staff and student volleyball game. And so I encourage the board, as well as parents, to come and watch that. That should be at 2 p.m. and I believe it's in the historic gym. There's been some trash talking going on, but it should be a really competitive thing. It should be a lot of fun.
It's Wednesday?
That's Wednesday at 2.
You're not allowed to play.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, as Travis mentioned, we're having kind of a celebration ceremony, pep rally to really, they'll focus more on it'll be very similar to what you heard today in this meeting, but hopefully there could be some additional surprises for that as well. And that's Thursday at 2 p.m. And then finally, in the spirit of appreciation and gifts, the Mancos School District has a little gift for each of you as school board members. And Heather will go ahead and hand those out to you.
Thank you.
And Madam President, that is my reports.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind gifts. Very nice. Chrissy, moving right along, I have this vision that we might finish early, so.
Okay,
No, I'm determined.
so I'm working on truing up our numbers for our January approval of the budget. So that's all I'm working on right now, which is a lot. So I'm hoping at the January 8th work session that I can carve out some time there to kind of go over the budget with you guys and talk to you about the differences from the June to the January budget, so you all understand. Because at our next regular meeting on the 22nd of January, I think it's the 22nd, you guys will be approving that final budget. So I want to kind of talk with you guys over that on that Monday. So I'm hoping we can work that in. We will also need to do a special board meeting on that same day.
Yeah.
For that mill levy certification. I don't have anything. I was hoping we could do it tonight, but it didn't work out. So the county has until January 3rd.
So we can do it on the 8th, though, and we're
Yep.
still within timeline?
Yep, I have to have everything to the county and the state by the 10th.
Okay,
So if we put everything on the 8th, I'll get everything sent up on the 9th. So it'll work, but we just have to do it on the 8th. So really don't really have a whole lot to tell you because I'm working through everything right now, so I'll give you a good summary of everything at the board work session.
Perfect. Will we also do the same exercise with DAC? Is that on the radar to talk to them about budget?
I'm not sure,
We should probably.
we did
revisit
that once,
We went over stuff already kind of with them.
and we'll be doing it again in probably May.
Yeah.
So we didn't have it on the cycle for 3, we only did a 2-part beginning and end.
Beginning and end, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So they get the insight from the start and then they get the wrap up at the end.
Right,
So that really is their purview as accountability.
right.
And they'll also in May get a little introduction to the new budget that we'll be working on for 24-25.
Okay,
So it'll be kind of a double.
Okay.
Double whammy.
perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Cordray, did you want to address bring to light the most recent PBL Celebration of Learning event that we had?
If possible, I'd like to defer that to January. We are super close on a little video
Oh,
that I think would
perfect.
be really best. We had a little challenge with apples talking to PCs today, so it didn't quite make it to the board.
Okay, well, I will, just because it is on the discussion items, I will just say that it was pretty phenomenal. I was really, it was a really positive thing to see almost every single person in this room there. Those of us that were parents and not. And it was a tremendous event for something we had not done at the beginning of a school year prior to, so I'm excited to see what that video looks like. Also, on our discussion items, we are in the process of the superintendent review and all activity related to that. We are now at the stage where we have received Mr. Cordray's self-evaluation, and now the board as a whole, or in each individually, have their purpose to go out and complete their own evaluations. And then the process, just to give some insight into the future, is that we compile all of that data utilizing 2 board members, and we'll be working on that towards that work session as well, and then presenting that review at our public meeting in January. And then after that presentation, it shortly follows by appearing on our website as well. So that work is all in process by all that are sitting here. Anything else to add to that, Mr. Cordray?
Yes, there's just one thing, the form we're using this year is an upgrade from the one we used last year, and it is on our website.
It's always ever changing and improving. That's how I feel that we should be as a school district. Did you want to, does anybody else have anything else to add to superintendent review or? Okay. What about the, just as in terms of discussion, every single board member was here this afternoon with Representative McLaughlin and Senator Simpson. So I'd love to have everybody's feedback individually as to what you felt was positive, what you noticed, what was brought to light. I personally never walked the campus with a senator and rep, so that was kind of interesting. I don't get to do the same work that Victor does, as he's with them, you know, often. So if everybody could kind of bring to light what they found.
I thought it was good. It was really good to see their reactions to our campus. And, you know, all of our students and all of our staff were just, I mean, on top of it today. Everybody was excited and they got to see the continuity and the community that is our campus. And I was impressed with our kids and with our staff. And I think we put on a pretty darn good show for them. I think they were impressed. And our discussion with them went what I feel is typical for meeting with legislative representatives. They told us what they were trying to do and gave us every indication that they were going to push for, you know, a betterment of the education funding issues. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Because that's only 2 representatives out of our 63 or something.
65.
65.
Rachel?
I also really like that we did this kind of during school. It was really nice to see the kids and the teachers and to interact with everybody and think that was really, we got to see all the building heads and just kind of get a good feel for it. I also did really like that we kind of stumped them when we, expressed that, Mancus with all 523 enrollment as of right now, that we are the median school size. And they, for them to picture us when they are, thinking about things and, creating bills and discussing bills that, we're in, there's same amount of schools smaller than us as there are bigger than us. So for them to kind of have that picture of our campus and our kids and our teachers and our staff, while they're in Denver, I think was really important.
Victor?
Just to add a little bit is, I was impressed with the fact that they, took the time and they came and they stood with us for over 2 hours, almost just about. And, I'm always impressed with our staff, with our schools, with our campus. It's an amazing, school district, and, I am so happy to show it off, because they need to see districts like ours. We've got an amazing group of folks here that work as a family. We are a family in this district, and so it was nice to really share that with them. And then it was nice for all of us to have discussion afterwards here at the board and try to emphasize to them our needs and our hopes as they move forward the rest of this year. So it was great.
Very cool.
I really want to piggyback on the what Victor was saying about family. We really demonstrated one of the best things about Mancus in our district of how we are all pitching in, how we all have ties to this community, and just kind of connecting the dots between everybody that was on the board, some of the staff, the history of Mancus, but then also we're able to tie that in and have personal connections with Representative McLaughlin. And it was really cool, and I think it was really something that really showcased and highlighted really how close we are. Outside of Mancus, we still have connection, and I think that's important for them to have witnessed, realized, and they can take that back. And I think it's going to stay with them that, we're not just a school district, it's rural Colorado, we're connected. And I think it's going to go towards that, the whole median discussion as well, just making sure that, our voices are still heard.
Yeah, a couple of things that stood out for me, to piggyback off of your, kind of connection commentary, and I love stuff like this. That's why I came back to a small community, is when you realized that you were, connected to Representative McLaughlin through Boy Scouts. And then Mrs. Ramirez was in here earlier and she said, "Oh my gosh, you were my teacher." Representative McLaughlin was her teacher, and she's now a teacher who's teaching our children as well. So it's a big, small world, right? We are really super connected. They also both commented on the feel and the culture, the vibe, if you will, of the campus as we started on one end and went through the entire campus walking through, and they felt that presence of community and the positive feel that they were able to just pick up on by walking around the campus. And that's not something that, we planned. That is just who we are. That is who Mancus is. And so that conversation afterwards, I felt was very positive. And, just keeping them in the forefront of their minds and relaying to others. And then the thing I took away from it as well was how important the Colorado Rural Alliance is. And we are a district that participates in the Colorado Rural Alliance. And so it brings to light for me the priority of keeping that relationship and the presence and the attendance at meetings and so on and so forth kind of front of mind, because it seems as though that group is who is feeding into our legislature and making sure that they are aware of all of the challenges that we're facing in smaller rural communities. So kudos to that group as well. So good stuff. In an effort to kind of repeat that same exercise, I would love to hear, as we talked about earlier and saw the video earlier and talked about CASB briefly, the Colorado Association of School Boards. It is the one trip or event that we attend as a board collectively every year. We, each individually take on our own, trajectory, and we pick out which particular objectives or classes we want to go to and attend, and then we do a few things together. So I'd love to hear back from each individual board member as to what they found valuable. You don't have to be lengthy, but just to give people an insight into, because a lot of times we're all about acronyms, CASB, some people don't even know what that is, right? So in an effort to kind of just give back a little bit, I'll start with you, Craig, if you wanna give us a couple highlights.
All right. I think for me, and it seems to be a common thing that I keep bringing up, is, as we're talking about the culture and that something the representatives noticed, that was actually something that I noticed, was lacking in other school districts, because it was brought up in discussions in multiple sessions that I went to, is that they didn't have the type of family and, community engagement that we enjoy here in Memphis. And so, the first session I went to was the rural roundtable, and that was really eye-opening to see that many of our concerns here in Memphis, concerning, legislation are the same things that a lot of the smaller rural districts are encountering. And we still have the same kind of crunch, you know, teachers and subs, teacher shortages, you know, how do we increase the pipeline? And how do we, you know, recruit and all that? It's a big discussion that's out there. I was glad to see that, because we're not alone, but it's something that needs to be addressed. And I think there's enough voices out there now that something can come from that. The other ones that I went to that I felt was really interesting, I wish there was more, but it was the discussions about basically culture considering DEI. They really started to get into it, but it really got into the weeds. There was a lot of charged discussion behind it. I think it's really worth noting that the conversations that they're having are, how do we identify ourselves as far as like who is in our school and what our direction is, and basically just kind of coming up with an ethos of, you know, what our community looks like and how we represent that. So I thought that was really neat. But it would have been really cool to get a little further into it. Then there was another session that I went to, it was about building community and building off of the community's culture as well. What I found was interesting is that they gave strategies of how to communicate with families, communicate with students from a diverse background, you know, culturally, you know, ethnically. So I've been really interested in diving more into what the communications are like with within the town, I mean, within the school district and our community, just to, you know, see if there's any implementation for some of the strategies as well.
Thank you. Victor?
I'm just gonna hit on three things. There were a lot of different experiences that I'm a big supporter of this conference, because I really do think that it really helps us get information that we don't typically get in our day-to-day work. So the three areas I guess I would look at that I felt like was interesting or informative had to do with one conference I went to. We were with the State Board of Education, and in that conference, they were really identifying what their role is in comparison to a local board and how they support local control and the local boards across the state. I found that interesting because, again, I don't know, you know, we don't hear a lot from the State Board of Education, except when they want us or they basically tell us what we have to do. And sometimes that works for us and sometimes it doesn't, and we let them know that. But what I did like was I got to meet our regional, local school, our regional state board representative. And I hope at some point I can get him down to this, to meet with us as a local board, so that we can share with him again, similar priorities that we shared with our legislators. But it was good to meet him and to talk with him a little bit about Mancos. The other thing, the next thing that I felt was interesting was I went to a class that was Educational Accountability 201. And what I learned basically from that was I'm really happy we have our own accountability system, because the state accountability system is basically the same accountability system that they started 10 years ago. And there hasn't been many adjustments or anything really that's changed. So our accountability, I still feel like the way we try to assess our kids, the way we determine where they are and what we need to do, the interventions we need to put in place is much more meaningful and much more effective than the state process. So that's really what I learned going into that class. And then lastly, I just want to say, I did a lot of networking. So the two representatives that came here was a combination of really networking, both with them, with our superintendent, and really engaging them or coming to visit our district. That was very successful. There's going to be more of that as we move forward. The winter conference, we're going to go up, you know, as many of us as possible, going to go up to the state capitol and advocate around the state priorities and trying to raise staff salaries in our area, in our district, so that we can become more competitive. And so I know Todd and I right now are going to be leading that charge come February.
Excellent. Mitchell?
Yeah, I went to a whole different set of everything. Mine was mostly legal, financial, so completely different, you know, school than the regular business things. But the part I think I liked best was just basically getting to know everybody. Having the time, not necessarily to talk, you know, how we are as board, but just to get to know what everybody's kind of interested in and how that is gonna help us in our discussions as we move forward.
I would echo that. I remember that clearly after my first year. Going to CASB just kind of opens up your eyes to an entirely new aha moment of, okay, this is what my next 4 years is going to entail, and I'm doing it with these people, right? So I hear you. Thank you. Tim?
Went to a critical incident briefing, which put in perspective the lack of resources we have in our area for those kinds of things, for our mental health issues and school resource officer issues. That was kind of eye-opening, but also laid out some groundwork of what we can do as far as our homework and making things happen in the future. I attended accountability with Victor, and that, like he said, I'm very pleased that we are a school of innovative status. And the one-on-one talk that we had with one of the state board reps, she actually knew Mancos and recognized it and said that, you know, we're doing a good job, which was, you know, was pleasant for me to hear that. Because me and the State Board of Education, we've never really gotten along, so I was glad to see that there was some positive things there for a change. And then finally, I went to a student roundtable, and we had our students, and there were students from, I don't remember how many districts were there, but there were a lot of students in a room. They gathered around at different tables, and there was a lack of board members, so I got to sit in at 3 different tables over the course of this hour and talk with kids from vastly different districts about what they think about school boards and what school boards do, how they feel about their schools, their education, their safety, broad range of subject, and it was very informative and some talented kids in there. I was impressed with the quality of the kids that showed up, and our students were right in there with the top level. And I'm really pleased with how our kids performed and how they showed up and made it happen.
Just to kind of piggyback off of, that critical incident, I also attended that same panel, and I have followed along for the last couple of years with the discussion around, school resource officer and SRO. And there were several things brought to light, through that panel that, I think really applied to a rural district in the way that we go about, bringing an officer into our district in a rural capacity when, what's the percentage, 20-some-odd% of our kids are from out of district.
23.
23% of our kids are not residents of our district. And so the idea that that causes our boundaries to somewhat need to blend, which then made me realize that this is a much larger discussion than just our campus. And then, you know, other items that were just brought to light that were items that we would have never thought about. So that kind of best practice, learning from those that are larger. This was a huge district out of some Denver area, I can't remember. But in any event, that was really eye-opening. I also attended a teacher engagement panel, which was really fun. I always appreciate hearing different perspectives from our own staff, but to hear from staff in giant districts. There was a charter school teacher, there was a online instructional teacher. It was very interesting to hear of the positives, the needs. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't just an open session of these are all the things we need. It was really more of a conversation around why people are working and teaching. And the consensus that I heard the clearest was, if we are happy with who we're working for and with and in our community, then that's where we're going to be happy. Yes, we would love to have, you know, these items, but at the end of the day, as long as we are receiving a wealth of joy out of what we're doing and who we're doing it with and showing up on the daily, that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I think we're working towards that at this district and getting better and better. And I mean, I've seen personally through my years here, that is just snowball effect. It just keeps getting better and better. So that was very clear. And then also favorite part of the event for me, and I just want to call it out again, this is the first year that we had a student strand. And we were able to spend a little time with the students, but spending a bit of time and listening to our kids and asking them direct questions and allowing them to openly comment. And I was quite surprised because they were very happy to share. We thought we were gonna have to like pull it out of them, right? But they were happy to tell us exactly how they felt. And that brought to light for me that student voice is important, and it has bubbled to the surface. We've been talking about student voice for a while, but I do believe that what you will see moving forward over the next year or so is that we really bring student voice to the table in a much more meaningful way through a process where we can start somewhere. And maybe someday we can even have a student sitting at this board table, which other surrounding districts do. And that would be pretty tremendous if we could get something like that out of a tiny district. I mean, we really median district, but still, a couple hundred kids, to have someone raise their hand and want to do that work would be pretty tremendous. And I loved to hear those kids and hear their feedback, so that was really awesome. So, Mr. Cordray, do you want to wrap us up on CASB?
Well, it was just a pleasure to be there with the board. It was exhausting. Those are long days, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for most of them. And it was just nonstop work from Wednesday through Saturday. So I commend the board for making that commitment I know when I got back, I was exhausted, and I imagine you all were too. One breakout session I attended that I was really impressed with was from our neighbor school district. The Durango School District did a really nice presentation on their portrait of a graduate competencies. It aligns nicely with the work we're doing as a school district. And I was just pleased to see how well they're doing as a school district too. It's nice to have, quality partnerships with quality neighbors. So it was a great conference, and I look forward to future CASB conferences.
Excellent, thank you. Did you want to lead the discussion around the academic calendar, Mr. Porter?
Yes, so we're getting into a routine, a tradition, a habit, a cycle of approving academic calendars for 2 years at a time. It's a way of providing a sense of stability for our parents in particular, so they could see what the calendars are going to look like year over year. This year, the calendar committee was led by one of our teachers. She took on a volunteer leadership role to be the leader of the calendar committee. Monica Ramirez led the calendar committee. She led it through a really thorough process of pulling the committee together, surveying staff, getting various options, understanding the law behind how many hours of instruction we need. Then she took it to parents, got additional feedback, then brought a final version to staff, got staff's input again. So she did an incredibly thorough job. And so what's before you today is for an action item is the academic calendar for next year and the year after. And as things develop, if we need to tweak these, we're certainly able to do that, as a Board of Education. But we have a really good calendar to really be something solid we can work off of for the next 2 years. And just to be redundant, I'm really impressed with the work that Mrs. Ramirez did leading this process. She did a wonderful job for our district.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to, we have two strat plan objectives that are just simply for review this evening. And not up for approval yet, but I do want to just briefly go over what we're in the process of reviewing. And we spent the majority of the work session last week on these objectives. Objective 2B, which is the Make a School District students demonstrate emotional intelligence and trauma-informed competencies in their day-to-day interactions with peers and adults. So that report was further shared with a bit of data added to. It's quite a lengthy report, I will add. It's one of the longer ones that Audion has provided to us, 14 pages long. If I can start, I will just simply add to the narrative that first and foremost, I think from a district our size, the amount of resource, dollars, and staff that we're dedicating to this particular objective is pretty significant for our size of district. Mrs. Farrar went so far as to add narrative from every single employee in our district that works with our kids, from a counseling, peer-based, trauma-informed, even BOCES staff member role. And so I've been encouraged by looking at the data. There's quite a bit of data in the report that I was happy to see. Unfortunately, I mean, there are certain things, whether it be based around referrals, coping skills, behavior, etc. We're not always seeing those in a, positively, whether they be declining or showing improvement. Although that's not always our charge, right? We talked very clearly with the state reps earlier and shared our legislative wishes around having even more support for children that are affected with significant behavioral problems. I'm not gonna say that it's all born out of COVID, because it's not. But this is the world we're living in today, and in school districts, this is the support that we're providing to our families and our kids, which is much different than it was even probably 5-10 years ago, much less 20 or 30 years ago. So that's what I have to add, but I would love to hear from anyone else who wants to go first.
I think the main thing that came out of the discussion last time was that there was one more survey that I think we were waiting on. And so I believe that we were gonna get that in time for the January meeting, correct? So we really couldn't, figure out where we were, I don't think, until we had all of that information.
One more.
When we get it, we should be at standard on that.
As soon as we review that
Yeah,
survey data,
that
it's
survey data,
looking as though
correct.
we're leaning towards at standard. Victor or Craig, do you guys have any?
If you wanna go, Craig, I'm gonna something.
No, it's just really interesting that for me to get the chance to see that we have these objectives. I think it's pretty cool. I don't really have any takeaways I can actually remember.
I think it's also very tremendous that for the first time ever, we have 2 dean of students that are also participating in this process, which helps support all of the remainder of our staff that are working towards upholding this objective. So it really is, I mean, and I'm not trying to diminish any of the rest of our staff, but there are certain individuals within our district that are held to rising to this occasion with dealing with what we're talking about here on a more regular basis. And I felt as though a lot of that was really well called out. That's probably why the report's 14 pages long. Anything else?
Yeah, I don't wanna repeat everything that's been said already. Basically, I thought it was a very thorough report. And it has a lot of interventions, a lot of resources, a lot of programming that they're putting into really supporting kids, trauma informed as well as social emotional. And so I basically compliment them for all the work they're doing.
All right. So moving on to the next report to discuss, again, we will not be approving this or posting it just yet. We're still in the review phase, but it's objective 2C. And these will be, should be voted on in January. But objective 2C states, Mankato School District adult stakeholders demonstrate high standards of professionalism in all district-related interactions. And the proficiency indicators there really focusing largely on the teaching and staff scoring themselves, and then a panorama staff survey. And if I'm not mistaken, we're still waiting on some survey data here
Right,
as
so
well.
that's why it's at approaching.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that survey data.
We don't know we don't know what we don't know.
Correct.
Right.
We don't know, yeah, it was approaching.
Okay. And it might be worth mentioning that as much as we are talking about student voice tonight, we also did discuss staff voice and the future wish to create a not just a survey, but to continue and maybe even make the survey, refine the survey, make it something that a staff member wants to spend the time on, but also holding some sort of place for staff engagement, a staff feedback panel, or even just us as district board members and representatives to be present when it's convenient to them. So hopefully you will see some of that in the future as well. Anything else on 2C? Anybody? No? Okay. We do have one objective report that is on the agenda for approval. And that is objective 1B, which is the Mankato School District consistently makes efforts to communicate with all stakeholders in a variety of ways. We reviewed this in depth at our November meeting. And we've even seen some of this work just come to fruition over the last 30 days or so with you might have noticed new comment boxes in each of our buildings, and work online in regard to that. Mr. Corder, do you have anything to add to this before, or does anybody have anything to add before we need a motion? Do I have a motion at all?
I move that we accept, objective 1B as approaching standard.
Second,
So I have a motion and I have a second. Heather, will you call the question?
Craig Manali.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We've talked about that one a lot.
And I would move that we approve all of our action items A through J via consent.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Good. Heather, call the question?
Craig Manali.
Aye.
Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Rachel McWhorter.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, future agenda items. I don't think we have any public participation, do we? Okay, future agenda items, I have, even though these are the 8th, we are gonna have a special meeting on the 8th.
Yep.
Which will be our mill levy certification, and that announcement will go up prior to the 8th, and we'll do our budgeting there.
Yep.
We will have some linkage reporting starting, following, February of 2024. In our February meeting, we should have Mr. Hunter's first report.
Two of them. Well, the 27th of January, I'll be presenting to the chamber, and then on February 10th, I'll be presenting to the annual meeting of Mancos Valley Resources, and however many of our 19 nonprofit projects show up for that.
Excellent. And we'll also have the superintendent review presented at our January board meeting. Are there any other future agenda items that anyone wants to add to the agenda?
I'm good.
We're all good. With that said, I'm adjourning the meeting 40 minutes early. 7:19, and we're done. Thank you, guys.
Nice.